Easy. All right. Hopefully we got it all working. We got the recording. So here we are. Yeah, I think what I tried to do, I was going to text the link to you to your phone number, and I double click on the contact card on the desktop, and it tried to call you instead. Yeah, I got to disallow this, like, because I had to double click on it. And I wanted to copy and paste it, but I couldn't because it was trying to call you.
Yeah.
So
I did answer, just so you know.
then you realized I'm not trying to do that.
Yeah. Like, this must have been urgent because we're going to be on in 2 minutes.
Right. All right, so we're starting the video. This is my first video for, I'll post this on YouTube, and it'll be the public-facing side for the community in my coaching group community, I suppose I'd call it, Focus on Solutions group. And there's essentially two conversations that I'm going to have going on in there. One is for this conversation, which is going to be about, we were talking about software and automations and workflows and how to do things with your business, essentially, with particular AI integrations to those things. And then the other conversation, which is either equally or even more important, is the behavioral side of things. And so my goal is probably, the current schedule is set to, I'm going to make a public-facing free community video every Friday for business, because it's during the work week. And then we'll do a community-based something beyond the free tier, and that will be more interactive. We'll do the hot seats, we'll do the one-on-one solutions for people and stuff like that. Then on Saturdays will be the behavioral psychology type conversations. So it's two contexts, and each one of those has the free front of stage one, and then we have the inside the community paid subscriptions ones. That's the initial plan. I actually just got one client added into the community today. Did we get you? Did you get the invite link or? So.
Oh, I'm in Gmail app right now for this, so I can't check my Gmail. Oh, I'd have to check.
For the Google Meet.
Yeah.
Here, I'm gonna text you the link because I can use technology. There's the link to the community site. I don't have a landing page built yet for like invites, so to speak. So the simplest thing is you can't log in because you don't have an account. So you essentially start a new account there. And Jason was able to do it before, so you should be able to. There's a button there. I'm not familiar with the. Well, I suppose I could launch a private window and see what that actually looks like when we go in there.
I'm pulling it up right now. So.
Yeah. And we don't have to do that right now, but we'll get you in there.
I'm not a robot.
That's good.
Like they're always like, ha, prove it.
I can prove it because I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
If anybody can see the names on our videos, you'll notice an amazing coincidence with the last name.
Yeah.
So.
I think I'm in.
Cool.
This looks great. Very clean.
Yeah, I finally got all of the placeholder stuff out of the theme. You know, I started with like a template theme, and then I got all the things organized, and then I dumped all of the filler content. The wow, I got peanut butter toast in my throat. So essentially in the community, there's going to be 4 levels. There's the free level. And then there's basically, I like to say the 3 bears: mama bear, papa bear, baby bear, right? So the low tier will have these live sessions in it. That'll be a low cost per month. The middle tier, I'm going to add in all of like my N8N workflows and automations, further research and things like that. There'll be content and download material in the middle tier that has more high value to it when we talk through a bunch of these workflows. And then the high tier will, of course, be everything before that. And at least for now, until I run into scaling issues, and at that point, I can just change a little bit the way I do it. But I'm going to do one-on-one Voxer support for the high tier, and so that'll scale me up a decent amount, and we'll see how far that goes. But right now, it's very empty. As I get my own creation and posting automations in place hooked into the community, that'll get ramped up quickly. So the great thing about being in a community when it's just starting is not the fact that it has a big library of content. It's essentially one-on-one coaching or very small group coaching with people. So you get a lot of FaceTime directly with the people in the community. So that feels like it's not the same way when it's bigger. So what we were talking about, and now what we're recording for here, Luke, do you want to say a little bit about some of the content that you've been seeing, and maybe talk about well, the content and the workflows that you've been seeing, what you've been learning, and then like what you're trying to implement in your business, and then I can frame the conversation around helping you with those things, because that's what we're here to do.
Definitely. I was going to say that we live in a time where there's a lot of really good tools, and unfortunately, the drawback of a lot of really good tools is there's so many really good tools. So we're paying for multiple prescriptions for things, and some things like I use, like Zoom, because it's so ubiquitous. Everyone's using Zoom. Everyone has it. It's not my favorite, because there's just some tools baked in, like I have a Google Workspace. So, this platform is pretty much included in that. I love Loom, and I know that doesn't necessarily have live functionality. You can't do group chats, but for my workflow, like a video recording software, it's probably the best. And Loom is very underrated in terms of like all of the interact with lots of people in their content and for their business. So having that library effect of past videos I watched and interacted with for not just my business, but for other businesses too. Plus, if someone wants feedback on something, I can just use that. And then it's like, oh, and it seems like Riverside FM, even though it's more of a podcast platform, has better streaming capabilities and it looks cooler, and you can record everything and it can pull an audio and cut everything up. So it's got social media, but and I'm like, there's so many great tools, but I don't even have the bandwidth of, hey, download another tool, watch some tutorials, figure out how to use it, and then that would be great. But then also now I have another tool in this messy tech stack, and a lot of things have just been added because it fits the moment, and it keeps the wheels of business moving. But I'm like, there's a little bit of a better way available here, certainly. So
yeah,
that was kind of what we were noticing.
Oh, and Jason looks like he might be wanting to jump in, so I can email him a link too. Yeah, so there's a few different things to comment on there. Here, let me just get, I think I have an email for him. Oh yeah. we go. There we go. Sorry. In 2011, there was a paper written by, I think it's Eric Andreessen. If I'm getting Andreessen Horowitz now. I think that's who it was. Anyway, the guy who wrote it. But the point is SaaS eats the world, right? And what it was is SaaS eats the economy, meaning SaaS software, all these subscriptions. We got out of the first internet bubble sort of bursts, and then we really start to ramp up to doing a heck of a lot of stuff online, and that's sort of the birth of knowledge work becoming really prolific and prevalent, and starting to represent a huge proportion of the economic horsepower, basically, of America and the world, really. But beginning last year, or just recently, we'll say, now the concept is AI eats SaaS. And what that is a lot of these software companies that were traditionally SaaS companies who are all racing to integrate AI, unfortunately get really thin and become just a wrapper around AI, and the AI capabilities coming up. And so all of a sudden the AI can do everything that the wrapper can do without needing the wrapping. And you can do the work of several different SaaS tools with either your own custom coded vibe coded piece of software, because it's just a dashboard, or it's a singular capability, or you just pay for an AI subscription and it does all of those things worth, right? And so what's happening is these things are squashing down. So as we emerge through the implementation of AI and its growing capacity, much of SaaS gets consumed by that. And so literally every week, every month, we can do these types of meetings. We do tech stack reviews, and we go, no longer need that. This covers that now, and this covers that, and it really changes very quickly, which is great, because personally I had upwards of $1,000 a month going into my tech stack at one point, right? That's like a mortgage for the house kind of thing. And that, now the drive is to push it down. You also mentioned the learning curve behind each one of these, and just being able to keep them all socketed together properly with either MCP or API hooks and stuff like that is a challenge. Here we go. We just got, I gotta admit, gotta get through the Google Meet stuff, because I gave up on my Zoom stuff.
Yeah. It's been up and down a little bit. It's really good right now, but it was a little bit warbly, and so I don't know if that's just on my end or if that's how the recording will go, but just wanted to let you know. So
yeah. Do you go? I let him in. I'll view everybody on the call. I said admit all, and oh, there we go. Sweet.
There we go. Hello.
It was like a caching thing or something. Now we got three. Jason, Luke, Jason.
Nice to meet you, Luke.
hey Jason, nice to meet
now
you.
we're officially a community.
Yes.
So for people who are watching this, Luke and I were just starting to talk about sort of the multitude of tools and needing to go through the learning curves of them and how everything's changing here quickly. Jason and I were talking earlier today about very similar things. And so in this context of the video in the community. Basically, what we want to do is hash out thinking through your workflows, getting rid of tools where we can get rid of tools, simplifying the stack, not get rid of the complexity of things. So there's several vectors there to cross. I will be having courses that I want to sell, in addition to the community, and there'll be a bunch of free resources in the community. But one of the things that came up for me in figuring out what the most important, what kind of value we can generate here in the community is like, I can't trip over too many more how to use ChatGPT courses. So I don't want to make another one. And these things are going to be changing so often, either the capacity of, say, ChatGPT or another model, or it becomes another model. And I'm not saying ChatGPT will, but any of these, right? And so it's more about how to think with the capacities of these and create your workflows in an intelligent way. Luke and I have talked about this, but Jason and I spent a bunch of time talking about how to be tool agnostic and to be able to carry your context across tools. And so the reliability of really great responses within the AI tools has a lot to do with being able to carry your context across them. And so that portability, what are the file formats you're using? How do you chunk those things is super important for the context window that we have within the tool. The token usage, how much does it need to chew up in order to do what you're asking it to do? Like if you wanted to make a slide deck from a chunk of text, like you have the AI create a chunk of text and you want a slide deck, then you need a project space for that, and then you put context in it. And how long does it take to do that? Is the prompt proper to do that? Which tool are you using? If it's like a nano banana thing or something like that, right? So that's what our goal here is, to talk through those challenges and come up with good ways to assess that. Jason, before you jumped on, Luke was saying, he's got a person in his local community and they're using AI and they're promoting that they're using AI, but the material coming out and that this person is using is pretty recognizable as AI slop, and so curation, what is it to have good taste and the ability to curate the stuff well and to recognize when it's hallucinating, and putting something in the prompt to keep it from doing that, or to say it doesn't know when it doesn't know. So it's not just generating stuff so that it can comply with answering, right? These are the important things. And so that's the forum. This is our first video, so I'm here to help you guys in group style, in the same way that I would do one-on-one, or either one of these other two guys also work one-on-one with people. So this gives us a way to have a group version of that. So chime in, let me know what you're running into, what your aspirations are, any challenges that you're running into in designing your tech stacks, things like that. Either or. It's hard to hide in the group when it's only 3.
Yeah. 2's a couple, 3 is a community, right? So,
That's right.
Well, what's coming up for me in the tech stack sort of things is some of the tools I have access to, like Canva and Chat and Gemini and all these things. And I want to make some good social media posts and I'm doing I'm like doing the writing, but I want some good visuals with it. And I guess it would be how to use those tools better. I played a little bit after our conversation the other night, using some of the how Gemini can create some of these, or I guess Nano Banana can create some of these images and how to prompt it. And I had some success, and then some of the like do the simple thing. It's like, yeah, I can't anymore, dude. This is too many times, you know. I'm tired, you know, man.
Prompt looping. Too
Yeah,
much prompt looping.
you know. So I guess maybe how to use that well, because I'd like to make some good, just interesting images for social media posts. I tend to do more Instagram posts, Facebook posts. That's where I'm connected with all the people that I worked with in the past or know from like business network kind of stuff. So I don't know if you'd be able to speak to some of that.
Sure. So when I first started using Nano Banana, I did the same deal. Initially running the prompt loop, but then what I found is like really step number two of being able to generate anything out of any tool, whatever the format would be, is to say is to ask the tool what would be the best practices. And so literally my first prompt was enough to generate a usable image. And I thought, wow, that's great. I got the right tool, right? And I just did this with, I literally, you know, because I told Jason this, I'm still a pen and paper guy. I try to kill as many trees with pen and paper as I can. But I took a note and I just wrote it out. And I took a picture of it and I stuck it in Nano Banana. And it was just able to recognize all the handwriting. And so OCR is now ubiquitous, right? And I said, create a slide deck, you know, create an image out of it that I could use in a slide deck. And so it did a decent one. And then my next step was, I know I'm going to be doing this in the future. And this is the second reason why not to have a course on how to use any of these tools. The best tool for teaching you is the tool itself. And so you just ask the tool, I'm going to be creating slide decks for presentations. What is the best practices for structuring prompts to you in order to get the highest quality images out? And then it created this markdown file, a bunch of text. Jason now knows exactly what markdown files are. So it created about 1,000 words of best practices, along with like a few questions for me. I answered the questions and then it kicked out the second image, and the second image was really cool. It had steampunk background. The print was on a piece of parchment paper that was taped to the desktop, stuff like that. It was very cool. But now I took that markdown file that is the best practices, and then I plugged that into my standard operating procedure. And so the background to this context that you're carrying about from different tool to different tool is a set of files that you can plug into a project. And now that prompt structure that I didn't know before, on the second step of doing it, now I have best practice that I can plug into my standard procedure. And so that then, like, I don't know how you can smash the learning curve down more than 2 steps. You know, like the first step allowed me to know that I was on the right tool. Second step got me standard practice, best practice out of it. And it wasn't another picture, it was a text file that you copy and paste out and you plug it into your business docs. Make sense?
Yeah, it does. I started doing that right away.
That'll get you the furthest, the fastest. It's an idea of moving slow in order to move fast, right? It doesn't get you the first product out the quickest, but the 10th product, it gets you to the 10th product the fastest, right?
So what you're saying is essentially that would look like asking chat, hey, I want you to make slides based on my outline. How do I best prompt that? Extract that data and put that into, like, I use Notion for everything. Plug into a Notion file, then I can just cut paste, like, oh, I'm going to make another slide deck. Cut paste.
Yeah. I mean, basically the food of the AI is text. And so the way you think about this is your goal is to clearly articulate your ideas, right?
Mhm.
And so text is the way that those ideas get clearly articulated. And um, text is essentially thought primitives of your ideas, but it's the bridge to the AI. And
Mhm.
so you start by asking for things and best practices. It tells you the best way to respond. You take the best response, put it in the standard operating procedure, and then there's a point here where automation can take over, right?
Mhm.
Because now once that procedure is in a document, then you can essentially set it, you can plug that into an AI, and then you can basically just throw it ideas and tell it to generate up the resultant content type.
Mhm.
And so that's why it moves you right away from going making one widget at a time by hand with human in the loop to having a best process and then going into automated system of some sort, right? And it takes, you got to loop through that too. You got to do testing and it breaks and you got to make it more resilient and stuff like that. But that gets you there the fastest.
Gotcha. So essentially, you're kind of making a master prompt to input each time that has all of the preset outputs that you'd like to prompt it with, and then you can input the data that it'll work with for that prompt each time.
Right. And you're just asking it, what is the best way to do that?
Mhm.
And it'll give you the structure.
I like that.
And what you want is the directions for that structure, right? Because over here's a tool, tomorrow there's a tool, the day after there's a different tool. You just want to get to the best way of doing that as quickly as possible. Extract it out of the tool and encode it into your business procedures. That's what it comes down to.
Mhm.
And so it starts with a little bit of looping in the prompt. It goes to copy and paste into your docs. You got to figure out where in your ops manual basically that is best used, or you can port it out to say we're using Nano Banana. You can port that out to Claude, and you could say create a skill in Claude, which is now an open standard, and you could say now I got the slide deck slide creation tool skill, right? And so that allows you to port it across to the other tools or create an automation for that workflow. There was something, Jason, that we were kind of ending the conversation on earlier, that you wanted to be able to. You had an interesting workflow of wanting to take your intellectual property and get it into we were talking about doing it in a public forum or with your clients and that kind of stuff. You want to speak to that a little bit?
Right. We were talking about getting essentially the family table method, my proprietary offering, into Community, which is a pretty inexpensive online community that basically mimics the Facebook group without all of the distraction that Facebook can
Without
be.
this,
Right. And so what I'd like to do is have offerings in there that offer a la carte kind of packaging for people to do the family table method who may not need a lot of one-on-one engagement from me, and then I can start to integrate an hour a week with a group of families who are all in that process. So being able to organize all of the one pagers that are going to be triggered by the module that they're on, so that they can absorb that information, get it organized, and then dropped in a way that's not only less confusing for them, but also for me when I need to go in and tweak and polish and such.
Yeah, that's right. And I think a lot of times we think about content being text, audio, pictures, and stuff like that. But what we're really catering to is the different types of learners, right? So we have the visual learner versus the auditory learner. Not everybody wants it in text and stuff like that.
Right.
That's where like Notebook LM's been great, because you essentially create a RAG system and you can ask it questions, but it'll kick out an infographic, audio,
Yes.
the different versions of that. So having a workflow that allows you to take what you currently have, maybe sort of encased in PDFs and docs, and have it into a more dynamic, interactive system, right? Because we definitely want to cater to the DIY crowd, but then we want to do one-on-one, but
Right.
that's the scarce issue, and it's also a logistical challenge, right? Like especially if you want to work with people, say East Coast or whatever, you got 2-hour difference, all that kind of stuff, right? So there's the logistical weight of the one-on-one work. So we want to cater to both of those, but then we're also talking about like the asynchronous stuff where people can feed back, right? Or you can answer after the fact, right? So there's asynchronous interactions, and that's where every time there's a conversation via a chat bot, which is the old school way of doing it, but with an AI. Or if you want to do something like Voxer, or even, you can do it via chat, whatever, you can do the asynchronous versions of that. Having your context in a consumable format for the AI, like in Markdown files, as opposed to pictures or PDFs, creates the liquidity for the AI to do what's called incremental retrieval, right? So whatever contextual information you have for training material for it to answer, that's where I recall what we were talking about too. This is like we got to get your material into the right kind of document forms, and then we create essentially containerize it so that if the people are coming to the website the first time, that they can interact with it, and at that point the people can the conversations can lend themselves to having a one-on conversation if this is the circumstance. Jason deals with some pretty traumatic situations, or in people in that can be in dire straits, in family relationships and stuff like that. So there can be certain say triggers for shifting the conversation or making recommendations, right? And so literally we got to the point where we can say, oh, you should buy a course, or, oh, honestly, I think right now you really need to just talk to somebody, and we can do that too, right? So maybe the important part in understanding that can be done is making sure that as we building block up both the capabilities and the workflows, but also within our own understanding of them, we slowly put together the right materials, get the stack worked out, run it, have other people in the community can run it or whatever, you test it through, it'll break, you fix it, it'll answer weird, you give it better guardrail criteria, and then you get it up and running to the point where you feel like you got something that you can really expose to people, and it generates value. That's sort of the underlying strategy to doing those things. But yeah, that's sort of the other end of the spectrum, I think, what you're asking for, Jason, versus a social media post, like what Luke is saying. But you need social media in order to attract the attention, in order to do that part, right? But it becomes more and more mission critical that the quality of the output is well curated, I suppose is a way to say it, right? It's one thing to be able to post out a social media post saying, "Hey, this is a great idea," and it's another when a person's in a serious existential situation, and you want to make sure that they feel cared for, right? And so that's probably like the two ends of the evaluated scale of making sure that we've made troubleshoot that thing to the point where we have a very high degree of certainty that the quality of output is spot on, right? Which also kind of lends itself to how flexible and dynamic of an output do you want versus how static of an output you want. The advantage of the social media posting is we literally want to post to go out every day at 3:15 a.m. Here's the criteria for that output. We can automate the Jesus out of that thing, right? We can literally batch and say, I like 15 of these ideas. I put a checkbox in front of all of those in a Notion template or whatever, and kick it off, and then the machine churns that stuff out. So both of them are important, and both of them are needed and necessary to help all three of us in doing what we're doing to try to scale, but we're not trying to scale just to make more revenue for ourselves. It's the fact that we can impact many more people's lives this way, right? Because otherwise they either go online and do a search and try to find an actually good quality remedy for whatever it is we're working with people, or they have to have you one-on-one on the phone. And that's just clearly not always the case, especially in critical situations. Sometimes it's at 2 a.m. So if you leave your phone on, then you end up digging yourself into the same hole that you're trying to help other people out of, So that's the power of doing these things, getting them set up over time, and knowing that this stuff ain't going away tomorrow. So it's the new capacity that we're building, and we got to learn how to think with it well. Any other thoughts or considerations?
It's good to know that I guess I've been on the right track in terms of the AI that I've been using. I'm using Canva 2, and I've been trying to ask it to help me use it better. And it really is a process. So I guess it's kind of validating to know that I'm going to have to go through this trial and error before I'm able to really start getting better. And I suppose the next step in something like that is getting really much better at my prompting, right? How I'm structuring the prompt so that I'm getting the maximum amount of good info back to get there quicker. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had talked about that. Essentially you got 3 layers, and it used to be that you could just be good at prompting and get away with saying you're fluent in AI. It's just not really true anymore. And so it's prompting, and we want to sound techie and smart, so we put engineering after all of these. Not that it needs to be, but prompt engineering, context engineering, which is essentially holding the meta layer of information along, like your business plan and your personal philosophy, right? Otherwise that gets lost in the prompt. You can't put it all in the prompt every time, because then that's burdensome, and you can't just have that there and expect to just get anything with a really easy prompt. So you got prompt, you got context. And really now, and Jason's familiar with this because we're both using Claude Cowork. What's really cool about that, you can essentially ask for a complex task, and Claude will launch multiple agents, each doing separate pieces. And so if you think about this, like an easy way to understand this is if you had one software product that you were working on, and it had a multi-person development team working on it. Essentially, Claude now does that within the context of a singular prompt. And so it literally takes a piece of software on a Git repository, breaks it off into different branches. The different agents each work on a chunk of it, and it can remerge it all together. It's ridiculously cool how this works, but that is the idea of orchestration. And so your job at one level is to be able to, I think I used this with Jason this morning, you got to be able to speak to an employee well, if you call your AI an employee, right? Speak, ask, tell it well. But then you don't just work one-on-one with the agent, even though it is able to create really great stuff. The goal is to be able to, if it's doing that stuff, let it do it in the background while you're having another conversation with another one. And that's orchestration. And so especially when you're working on one project, say like all the components for a podcast or all the components for a presentation, there's a lot of different artifacts that come out of that. You got a script, you got the audio, you got the tool chain, and you know, you had the original research for the idea, or you scraped stuff and summarized it. And so you can have multiple agent deployments working on those different chunks, and it's got to come back together and not just be a slop pile of mash. You know, like they have to be following the same train of thought. And so at a fundamental level, get in, use some tools. Both of you guys have got experience using tools already. You're always thinking in those three categories. And to the degree you can is sort of the way you grease the wheels to getting through the learning curve the quickest. There's always some sort of frame for the prompt. There's some sort of frame for the context. And then there's some sort of, as soon as both of those are, you feel like you've kind of got that working, it's, you know, and literally you can have a browser and just have ChatGPT going and Gemini going and Grok going and stuff like that. And if you're porting along your, say, your business plan and the project specification, they're all contributing to the real project that you're doing. Easy enough to do. And if you think with that, you get a lot more output.
I think the next question is, okay, how do I build that? Or do I just ask chat, make a thing where everything works together really easy, you know?
Right. Well,
and quickly.
You can ask the AI to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of vibe code your way in there. I think it's really important to understand, though, that your learning curve is important also. It's not just something to get past. You know, you don't want to just be aloof in the beginning and then competent at the end and forget about all the middle part and figure out how to squash that down. You're gaining personally, and a lot of that learning is, you know, you can lateralize that across other tools and other skill sets, right? We talk about having mental models and mental representations, right? Mental models are simplified ways to look at across domains for ways to think about those domains. Mental representations are the domain-specific schematic understandings that you develop as you go deeper into a model. And this is sort of, you know, we're dancing into the other conversation, which is more the cognitive side of this and the behavioral side of this to keep what we're doing healthy in working with AI. But you could essentially, well, I mean, simply stated, you could buy somebody else's automation, or you could scrape one automation. You know, you got guys on YouTube that will say, here's the thing, and you just put it together that way. But it will break. You have to fix it. You have to learn APIs. You got to learn MCP servers. You know, you got to learn how to hook these things together. You got to know what hooks are. as far as event triggers and stuff like that. And by learning this, you're creating an underlying fluency to then move you forward in the world. If you just, in the world with AI, if you just, you can't just buy your way through understanding, right? It's like exercise, right? I can't do your push-ups for you. You could buy a big box of push-ups from me, but that wouldn't help you that much, right? So that's part of what we're going to do in the community. And I'm going to have lead magnets and artifacts in there, and even my N8N automations. The cool thing about those is they're all shareable, just like a notebook LM or anything like that. And so, it'll clean my API keys, and you'll have the nodes and the structure, and then you can essentially plug your API keys into it, and it'll start working on your structure with your content and your channels and things like that. That's all of this stuff is portable at this point. And you want it portable for yourself. You want to be able to borrow it from other people, learn from it. And it's actually part of the infrastructure that we'll have in the community to share, right? So you start by saying, I want to create this second brain thing, right? Well, that's 4 tools, right? You have an input and output device, and you have a automation, and you have an AI agent in there. And so you go from a chaotic life of running around trying to make sure you know what you're doing to a simple input engine where you can just dump in lots of material as you have it, and out comes a daily brief every morning. What's the most valuable thing you can do? And a weekly review to say that you're on track or not on track. Now you have really clear, distinct containers for whether you're working in your business or on your business. You get a huge productivity uptick. And there's so many different permutations for how to do this. I think it's better to just talk about it in general and just say, oh, I like Slack, or I like Discord, or I like Notion, or I like Obsidian, or I like any of these other tools. Great. You plug it together using the tools that you like.
After hearing you say that, I'm using both Obsidian and Notion right now. Would it be better to use one versus both then?
The one difference, and you'll be able to generate your own answer. For part of what we're talking about, Obsidian is really cool because all of the different notes, if you will, are in their own markdown files. And you can just go to a file, what do you call it? Just a file browser on your desktop, and you can see the individual documents. That's really cool. In Notion, it's a server-side thing, and they're aggregated into a vector database. And so security issues, it's bound into a container, right? And so it's not really simple and clean to just export each one of those outputs into a markdown file, which is what we want to feed the AI with. So it's not necessarily better or worse. What you can use is Obsidian could be an input engine, Notion could be an output engine. Although if you just want to speak to something, you can use audio notes in a Slack channel or something like that. You probably can do audio notes in a Notion thing too. I'm not super familiar with Notion, but and it'll chew them up, So that's the point of the API is that it's monitoring a channel for whenever a thing shows up there, and your input is I just launch the app and speak to it, and it throws it in that container. And so whenever you're done with submitting a note, then it triggers it in the automation. But you can use both. There's strengths and weaknesses to both, right?
Right. So then I guess it'll be learning how to maximize strengths in both. And then I might not need to do something like move over to Slack because Notion's going to be able to do probably close to all the things that Slack can do. Plus, it can make databases. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's almost preferential to the way you want to use it. It doesn't cost anything to use a Slack channel. It just happens to be a nice app that you can just speak to, and it's got good compatibility with things. But Notion does too. I think maybe more important to the context side of the equation is understanding the portability of the markdown files, where you're actually able to get in there and just manipulate your markdown files, and it's really easy to copy and paste them back and forth. Because when we were talking about it earlier, Claude and Claude Cowork is actually a wrapper around Claude Code at the terminal. And Jason and I were at a point where we were looking at my file browser, and I showed him markdown folders inside of Claude Code. And so what's really cool is you can literally just go there and see what the AI is using, which is not too dissimilar from what you have in your Obsidian node, right? So you can understand, like, language is becoming code, code's becoming language, right? And so the ability to have that level of granularity where you can think with it being a file, to me, helps to facilitate the learning curve a little bit. Can't really do that with Notion. So for that particular part of the learning curve. That being said, I also showed a couple of other markdown text editors. So these are it's a tool up from, say, Notepad and down from Google Docs or down from Microsoft Docs, right? It's in the middle. It's essentially a markdown editor, in the same way a browser is just reading HTML files, Did that part make sense for you, Luke? What tools were you using?
For me,
Yeah.
I use Notion for pretty much everything. I mean, I use Google Docs because I use them, but I keep almost all my information in Notion. So I don't have like files formatted in there in Markdown, but I just have the blank text, or plain text.
Text files. Yeah. Markdown is essentially text files.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a little bit of markup on them for like headings, and that makes it a little bit easier for the AI to understand the different blocks of information within it. And in a lot of the editors, it makes it easy to move those things around. And then as far as workflow automations will go, you'll be stuck with figuring out how to get the automation to grab a particular note in Notion, or you'll have to copy and paste it out into the AI, which puts you a human in the loop scenario. And so having a folder of markdown files is just kind of the ultimate version of portability.
Yeah. I suppose I could do that. I kind of like having everything in Notion. Like the minimal friction there is almost easier for me because everything's just in one spot.
Yeah, so it'll work. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was getting at too. Is if I'm not stacking more tools, then I don't have to remember as much. So,
yeah, right.
So,
yeah. It's a constant battle.
Always, yeah. And my brain likes new and shiny things. I'm dangerous out there.
Yeah. And Notion too. Then just make sure that you understand that you're working server side. And so you don't have a local database of that to retrieve from. So depending on what you're doing, local versus server side, you got some issues there. But there's roads through all of those things for sure.
The thing is, I pay for Slack Premium, which is not something I use a lot, but with some of the businesses I work with, they use it for, all the channels and automations. And someday when my offer is running more for not my specific client work, but for maybe like the group offer. I would see the benefit of having some of the automations coming from, Kajabi and some of these, like my point of sale system and the like fulfillment systems that I have, integrating that with Slack, which I know is just some API work and everything, but I'm excited to see the capabilities with that because I know that Slack just keeps getting better and better,
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a sort of an entrepreneurial prerogative here is just be careful that you don't catch yourself investing in software for later on down the road when it might be much, you're much bigger or more successful or something like that. The idea of bootstrapping is always good in any economic circumstance. And so money out of pocket because the software is great, but you're not utilizing it, is the money's going in somebody else's pocket, for that. And I've done it. Like I
Oh
said,
yeah.
I'm preaching to the choir here. I've spent many thousands of dollars on software that ultimately got 1% usage out of it or something. So
Yeah.
Same.
I think we all have, right? And so
Yeah.
only pay for what you need. Run the whole thing out of cash flow as much as possible, and do it a la carte as much as possible, to the point of with the only other direction being, don't make the system any more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree. I don't feel like I'm doing that with Slack. Like one client I have, it, pays for itself in spades. I was just like, I know other people use it a lot, and I'm like, there's a lot more potential there to this software, and I'm just using it pretty minimally for the communication aspect, which is great. But
Yeah, and everything that I've been saying, you can all do with free. You don't need a paid version of Slack to do any of this stuff. So it doesn't cost you anything.
mm-hmm.
A lot of times it comes down to something as ridiculously simple as which apps you have notifications turned on and off for on your phone.
Yeah.
Right? Is like, I recognize that sound. That's a client notification. You're not going to do that easily with phone and text, right? So as soon as you have a third tool like this, and you can turn off your phone, your phone notifications, you can turn off your text notifications, you're down to something where, oh, that chime is associated with something particular to needing to do for work or something like that.
That's one notification I enjoy. The ding
That's
of the
right.
cash register.
That's right. Yeah, make that one the cash register sound. That's probably the best.
The more obnoxious, the better.
That's right. Well, I think we've covered a few things here, probably even more than I thought we needed to. So I think this is a really good first introductory video for people to get an idea of the types of things that we can talk about and how we can help people in the community. And as we get more and more people in, they'll see what comes out of this for helping them save money, figure out what the heck they're doing with all these shiny toys that can save the world or consume it or whatever. So I really appreciate you guys jumping on and giving some feedback. Was there anything else that you think would be good to note for the community, or let them know it's something worth signing up for, I suppose?
Well, I think I got my master prompt built from notes into slides. So now I just have to test it. But I think that's kind of the value of this community is take action, do it. Like we talked about it, but then go do it, move it from nice ideas into here I have a thing now.
Yeah.
So I think that's a win. I'm excited.
Cool.
And I think that being able to put many heads together instead of just this one that might be stuck on a hamster wheel is worth quite a lot. So that, yeah, I can also feel like I'm making some small steps for change, and those always equal big change. So I'm really happy to be here and to be able to get your wisdom.
Well, great. I very much, like I said, I very much appreciate you guys being part of it. Learning is always a two-way street, right? In relationship building, it's wonderful, and it's a very big change for me to begin a community and to think that I would run a community. It's not like I'm shy about doing it. It's literally, it was a business strategy that I think I kind of was hiding in off on the side and kind of neglecting for a long time. But I can see the value in having the group dynamic. I think it's important. Clearly, in regular life it is, but also in this format, it's a special container for us to, I think, gel and emerge some really great ideas and develop them. So it's not just DIY off on a course somewhere, and it's not just one-on-one work. So I feel like this is a good bridge to that. I think it'll be, I'm looking for long-term investment in developing it, because I guess I've seen the light now, and I'm like, okay, time to do it. So I appreciate you guys starting off with me and being here. And like I said, if this is the first time you're seeing this video or going to the community, you'll realize that they're signing up to an empty container basically. But as we get these automations up and running, the increase to having all the material in there to facilitate these types of conversations and what they produce, it'll get there quickly. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. This was fun. I'll see you guys later.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks. Take care.